Are you winning? Do you need help in your life or business? Could you use some inspiration, business strategies, and success principles? I'm Daniel Gomez, award-winning business coach, keynote speaker, and best-selling author. On the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show, we will help you create a successful life and elevate your business. Together, we will discover the keys that unlock your success and dreams. Welcome back to another episode of the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show, where we motivate you, we inspire you. And today, I'll tell you what, we're going to just have a lot of fun. And there's definitely going to be some education. And this person is dear to my heart, a mentor, a friend, a brother, but really just someone that I've looked up to. And I want to tell you ahead of time right now, you definitely want to get out your pen. You definitely want to get out your paper, because you definitely need to take notes on this one. You know what I say. Everything you write down, you retain over 50% of it, even more. So take notes, go back and study it, because our guest today, Sonny Melendrez, San Antonio's very own iconic #1 DJ for many, many decades, dear to my heart. I remember Sonny, I remember listening to you when I was in elementary school, and I was a little bit, and I'd be
Chavalo
like,
mocoso.
He's so funny, like just your voice and everything. And Sonny, welcome to the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show, my brother. How you doing?
Thank you, Daniel. I love your energy, love your enthusiasm. You're always smiling, always positive. I'll tell you, we're both in the right business for what it is we do. Now that we found the speaking world.
Yeah. So I know the amazing human being you are, my friend. Introduce yourself, please, to the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show.
Sure. I started out in radio here in San Antonio, and then went to Los Angeles, where I was really with the top broadcasters in the nation, working at one of the top stations in the country, KMPC in Los Angeles, and then landed a job as a host. Actually, I'm the second male host on the Disney Channel. You know who the first one was?
Walt.
Nope, Mickey.
No? Mickey.
Yep, Mickey Mouse. My show followed Mickey Mouse's show, and I did a show called You and Me, Kid. And then we did that's where I met my wife in Los Angeles. We went on a nationwide tour to promote the TV show, and one of the cities we came to was San Antonio, and I had not been back in like 12, 13 years. And my wife, just because we stayed on the Riverwalk, she said, you know, if we ever left Los Angeles, this would be a great city to raise a family. Well, lo and behold, God had plans, and I was offered a job I couldn't refuse on KTFM. And that's when I think you were listening. And I would fly to Los Angeles, if you can believe this, every week on a Monday after my radio show, and I'd fly back the same day. Go do the TV show, come back and do the radio show the next day. I loved it. I've always loved, if I didn't have to sleep, I wouldn't. But so I've had a great decades-long career in radio. And then about 18 years ago, somebody asked me to speak at a conference. And I said, well, what am I going to speak about? She said, well, talk about your life. Talk about what it is that gets you up in the morning and your enthusiasm. Well, that became my brand, the power of intentional enthusiasm. Now I have a TED Talk, and now what I do is open conferences or close the conferences and meetings and conventions, both here in San Antonio and throughout the country. And just like you, Daniel, I'm in my element.
I love it.
We're on stage. That's the place to be. We're fish in the water.
You know what, Sonny? You said a key word there, and I'm glad you brought up your keynote, what you speak on, because I think so many people misrepresent the word enthusiasm with loud and loud with enthusiasm.
Right.
And I say that because a big part of our business too is we do a lot of sales trainings for corporations and different sales teams. But they're like, well, you got to be enthusiastic, right? You got to show your enthusiasm. And they're like, well, I don't want to be loud. Well, no, you're not. It's not. It's just not. Enthusiasm is not loud. When you talk about enthusiasm, give us kind of a rundown. And ladies and gentlemen, you definitely want to take notes on this part, because I'll tell you what. One thing that I'll tell you is Sonny's always smiling. If you're watching this on the video aspect, like, you're going to see his amazing big smile. But smiles are contagious and people need smiles, especially in today's world. Sonny,
Oh,
talk to us
yeah.
about enthusiasm, brother.
Well, the word enthusiasm comes from the Greek entheos, in spirit, the spirit within. So when you are enthusiastic, you're letting out that spirit within. It's a spirit that we all have. We don't always let it out. And a lot of people think that you have to have a reason to be enthusiastic. And
Mhm.
that's what I've discovered. I've discovered a formula that I call intentional enthusiasm. And Daniel, it is amazing how it works because it allows you to be enthusiastic about anything. And this might sound crazy, but when I take the garbage out, for instance, it's a garbage night, got to take it out. I go outside, I look at the stars, I'm looking outside, I can't believe that we live on this planet and how big the universe is. And that may sound, grandiose, but it's true. There is something to be grateful for in everything we do. And that will bring out your enthusiasm for what it is you do because everything is really a privilege. And there are three pillars to intentional enthusiasm. The first one is belief. You have to believe in yourself. The second one is vision. You have to have a clear vision of what it is you want to accomplish. Small, big, a big life changing project, whatever it is, you have to have that vision. And the third one is gratitude, because gratitude is the pillar of everything that we do. The more grateful you are, the more you pinch yourself, the more you think to yourself, wow, look at what I get to do, as opposed to look at what I have to do. The more you will appreciate your life, and the more you will appreciate the ability to use your enthusiasm every single day.
I love that. There's some, I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, this guy, Sonny, he's already dropping some massive nuggets here. Let's let's touch on the gratitude part real quick because I think that was the last pillar you spoke about, but I think that's a crucial one because I think that word is kind of jaded now because I think so many influencers say the word gratitude or you got to be grateful. Like just everybody's using the word gratitude and they don't really go right. I say to the way I believe and I teach is that there's always the surface level, but there's always a deeper. I always say there's always a deeper in everything that we do, whether it's gratitude, forgiveness. There's always another level, and people get stuck on a certain level. But what I've
Sure.
learned, right, is what you just said is I'm just experiencing a new level of gratitude in my life. I'll be 50 years this year, man. I'm 50. I'm going to be 50 years young, and people go, "You're going to be 50." I'm like, "Yeah." They go, "You don't look it." I'm
You're
like,
a kid. You're a
"Thank
kid.
you. Let me give you a tip." But I say that because something that me and my wife started doing this past year, like intentionally, every morning for the last 5 months now, we've been waking up and saying, "Okay, we tell each other what are three things we're grateful for." And
Hmm.
so, right. So the exercise that we do is, okay, honey, I'll just pretend like Sunny, I'm grateful for A, B, and C. And then the second part we ask each other is, okay, are you holding any resentment towards anybody? And
Mm.
I'll say, no. And today I did have some resentment. So I had to release that resentment, to be honest with the audience, right? Daniel Gomez Inspires does have resentment sometimes because sometimes people just are out there to do harm, right? But it is what it is.
Yeah,
But we release it that way because we don't want a backlog of that resentment. Because that the good thing is this is to tie into what you're saying is that resentment is going to keep you from being grateful sometimes. So what are the
that's right.
benefits that you've seen, my brother? What are the benefits like? Why is gratitude a pillar on your keynote on enthusiasm?
I'm glad you mentioned your wife because a lot of my gratitude is shared with and also comes from my life as a husband and what it is my wife and I experience. And it goes back to why it is we fell in love and why it is we were attracted to each other and God put us together. And her favorite show it was Downton Abbey. And there was a scene in Downton Abbey where one of the daughters' husband died, and then also there was a woman in the show, her husband died as well, and they were no, I take it back. The daughter died, but anyway, they were the son-in-law and the mother-in-law were both sitting there lamenting, or actually remembering, their loved ones who had died. And they were talking about how fortunate they were to have met them, lived with them, had them in their lives. And the last thing that the woman said was, "Aren't we the lucky ones?" And my wife Linda and I, we both, looked at each other, and there's a post-it note on my mirror in the bathroom that says, "Aren't we the lucky ones?" And every morning it is a reminder of everything: running water, air conditioning in this incredible heat, just all the things that we take for granted. And here we are, complaining that the internet is not fast enough. So there are a lot of things that will ground us and remind us, aren't we the lucky ones?
Love that. Write that down, ladies and gentlemen. Get your pen and paper out, write that down. Aren't we the lucky ones? As you write that down, or aren't we the lucky ones? Ask yourself right now, what are you taking for granted? You say that, and what comes to mind with what you were talking about was like, we just had a friend of ours, his condenser went out on his AC unit, and guess what? His house went from 70 to 100 degrees literally within a couple of hours, because it was we've had a heat wave over here in Texas. And
Right.
he goes, "Man, it's hot." I'm like, "I bet you're going to be more appreciative of your AC once the guy comes." And fortunately, he was able to, right? They were pretty much without AC the whole day. And imagine
Mm,
that. But the kids were sweaty, right? It's just uncomfortable. But sometimes we realize how blessed we are because we take those smallest things for granted.
yeah.
That's amazing. So, ladies and gentlemen, what are you taking for granted right now?
Daniel, I was in El Paso last week visiting my aunt who's 97 years old. She's in a facility there, and she is unbelievable. She's really the source of a lot of the joy that I have. My mom was that way too, and I've never ever seen her down. And she would always say, you know, everything, things must pass. Things happen, and everything. It's going to get better. That's what she would always say. It's going to get better. Everything's fine. It'll be all right. And here she was in this bed, frail. Oh, and my brother and I went in there. We woke her up, and her smile just opened up. She was joyous to see us, and we got so much joy from her. And um, her son, my cousin, had told us that she was kind of losing her memory and had a little bit of amnesia in some cases, also the Alzheimer's. And she would literally come and go, but she was all there making jokes, etc. And it just brought us so much joy from this state that she was in. And she was just telling us all the things that, oh, they feed me, they take, they, when I need a bath, they give me a bath, there's this and that. Oh my goodness, I mean, just incredible. And then we drove around because my radio career began actually uh, in El Paso when I was going to the University of Texas at El Paso, and so I have a lot of memories there. And my brother and I were driving around. We went to downtown El Paso, and we see a lot of these immigrants who have come in, have nothing, and they're under shade trees. The heat wave you're talking about is
It's
all over
real.
the Southwest.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so they're just there. And these different churches are trying to give them water and shelter and everything else. And you look at their life, there's that famous saying, they say, there but for the grace of God go you and I. And how true that is.
Do you think?
But
Let me
I
ask you this.
think,
I want to stay there sometimes, because I think you just said that, and I want to just want, I don't know, I just want, I feel when we want to talk about this, but I think sometimes we forget that we're human beings at the end of the day, and every human being matters to God, even though they're a different race from a different country or just whatever it may be. I think sometimes we forget that human element, and we're quick to have just judgment, and I like the way corporate says it, right? You have unconscious bias. They use a fancy word for that, right? You have unconscious bias, and really it's you're judging because we've been taught to think this way since a kid. And I say this because sometimes I think we think that people choose to come from another country. People choose to be homeless, and no one chooses to be homeless. I mean, it's just I don't believe it. No one in wakes up one day and says, you know what, I'm going to be homeless today, or that's their goal. But I think that's one reason that my heart goes out to the poor and needy, because by you saying that, it reminds me of a Thanksgiving that we had one time where I think the kids, my daughter was probably about 13 and my son was probably about 7, and they're like, what are we gonna do for Thanksgiving, guys? I said, you know what, we're gonna go buy some lunch meat, we're gonna go buy some granola bars, we're gonna buy bottled waters, and we're gonna go and we're gonna feed the homeless in San Antonio. They're like, what? And they love doing that. Like, they would say, Dad, are we gonna go again? And we wouldn't do it every
Mm,
month, but we would do it every once in a while. But we had never done it on a Thanksgiving. And just the fact of being the hands and feet of God and giving out this food, it's sometimes some people sometimes they're one string away from just giving up. I love what you're
that's
saying
true.
there. I love what you're saying there, because sometimes we really are not grateful, huh?
No, no, and sometimes we need to be slapped, and and be told, look at what you got, and really, the thing is, we are never happier, Daniel, than when we are in the service of others.
Yeah.
We're all here to help each other, and if you wake up every day with the idea that whoever is placed in your path you will try to help in some way. And that could be the smallest thing, like saying, I appreciate what you're doing. You're doing a great job. If you're at HEB, a big supermarket here in San Antonio, and someone is doing a great job, a pat on the back and saying, thanks so much for your smile. Thanks so much for the job you're doing. You really are representing this company. Oh my gosh. Can you imagine driving home? They're playing back that compliment over and over. And such a small thing to us can make it such a big thing to someone else. But every day we have the ability to share what it is we have. And it doesn't have to be, something big. It can be something as small. I'll give you an example.
Yes.
When I was on the air at Magic 105, morning show, I want to say it was 1997. There was a big flood in our area, a lot of rain and a lot of flooding. People lost their lives going through low water
I remember
crossings.
that there was the whole,
Yeah,
even right there by Selma, that whole bridge was
yeah.
underwater. I
And
remember that.
along the Guadalupe River, some people lost their houses. And so we decided that we were going to have a big drive to get our listeners to bring anything they could that would help these people. Everything from, food to furniture, whatever it is they could bring. And so we broadcasted from one of the big parking lots, one of the big malls. It was Central Park Mall at the time, and started out at 5 a.m. We went from 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. We did the whole thing. And our goal, Daniel, was to fill a semi full of all these goods, to get 25 pints of blood, and to raise $5,000. Well, people came beginning at 5 a.m. There was a steady flow of 2 rows of cars. You could see the headlights for miles. It was incredible. Everyone was bringing something, and we were filling that semi, filling that semi. By the time it was over, we had filled 19 semis, 125 pints of blood, and raised $50,000. It was incredible. And I
Wow.
think that it speaks volumes for the generosity of San Antonians, but this generosity of human beings, like you're saying, is everywhere. We all have that in us. We need only to be asked and only to be allowed to have that the ability to give that. And I'll tell you, there was one moment.
Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this because I think this is crucial. How does somebody get the heart for that, Sonny? Because I do believe that there has to be a heart shift. So many people, they have the intellectual, they have the schoolwork, right? They have the education.
Right, right.
I know people that have 2 or 3 masters and they're still not where they want to be because I see it as a heart issue. How does somebody develop that heart to really just care? Because unfortunately, there's some people that just don't care.
Well, it's by our example. You know, you can't have a random act of kindness without touching 50 people. Everything you do is appreciated by the person who receives that kindness, but there's a third element, and that is the person who watches or hears about it. Just like you're hearing about me telling the story about the generosity of the city of San Antonio. And I was telling you that there was steady 2 rows of cars coming through. At one point, it was about noon, there were 2 cars next to each other. One of them was a Mercedes, and there was a woman in the car, and she had just come from in this area, real affluent areas called the Dominion, and she had just come from there, and I guess her uh, servant, whoever, had wrapped up some linens, and she had them in the back seat, and she's in the car. She goes, in the back. And so we opened up the car. We got the linen. Thank you very much for your donation. Right next to her, that next to that Mercedes, was an old beat up station wagon with 6 hands, arms, holding a mattress on top. This family had come from the south side of San Antonio and was bringing something. It was their
Wow.
mattress. And it spoke volumes about our city and about what it is we can do no matter where we are in our lives. So at the very end of the entire drive, we were thrilled at 7 o'clock, and I'm going to my car to go home, and I hear somebody yelling my name, Sonny, Sonny. I see this lady across the parking lot, and I said, and I'm starting to wave at her. She comes, she says, I'm so sorry. I had to take 3 buses to get here. And she hands me a little bag from Walgreens with toothpaste and a toothbrush. That was her donation. She had
Wow.
come from the other side of San Antonio just to give that. And that meant just as much as anything else that anyone gave. So when you talk about how do you get that heart, you get it by doing, but also from watching. And you can have so much influence on someone else because our example is really the best teacher.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, think about what Sonny's saying. Where are you finding yourself to be too busy to where maybe you don't hold a door for an elderly person anymore? Maybe you don't open the door for your wife like you used to. Or maybe you just don't realize you stopped doing things you used to do before. It's it's uh it's powerful what we're talking about, Sonny, because I think our world needs it again. I can remember when I was younger that, of course, right, a lot of times you didn't need a contract. A handshake was your contract, and it's not. It's just times have changed, and I don't want to say unfortunately it's not like that anymore, but unfortunately it is because it's just you can't do that anymore. Your word was your word. You were impeccable with your word, and if you said something, it was done. But I think that we need to get some of those values back, those old values back of just really, if someone needs a ride, give them a ride. And if someone needs help, try to help them out. It's just, there's so much we can do. Let me ask you this. I'm loving this. I'm loving this whole thing because this is where true joy, true enthusiasm comes from, ladies and gentlemen. When you're selfless, or I want you to write that word down, selfless. Where in my life can I be more selfless? Because when you're selfless, you give, and there's that enthusiasm. And then the other pillars that you talked about was believing in yourself. And sometimes we don't believe in ourselves because we get stuck in our own self instead of giving. And when you give, like we're talking about, you believe in yourself.
Yep.
It's like, you know what? There's always something we can do, and we don't realize that.
That's right. And you talked about a smile earlier. You know, some people have the greatest smiles and they never use it. A smile is like it's like human sunshine. It's like I'm going to make the sun come out right now. I'm going to smile at you. And I'll tell you something else. You cannot have joy with smiling to yourself. If you look in the mirror and smile, it just gives you this euphoria. There's a certain dopamine that you're able to release, and it keeps you going, and it keeps you on the bright side. You know, every morning, um, there was a great thing about getting up in the morning and what it is you do. And Albert Einstein would do this every morning. He would say, do I live in a hostile universe or do I live in a friendly universe? And every morning he chose friendly. And that would be the setting for his day. We all have that choice. We can be curmudgeons. We can be down on the world, down on other people. I had I had a producer on my radio show. His name was Andrew, and I've told this story, and he knows about it. And he had just come out of college, and his favorite phrase, Daniel, was "What's up with that?" Everything was, "What's up with that?" You know, I was at the park and I saw this old man. I was like, "What's up with that? What's up with that?" And after working with me for about a year, he was on the phone with a listener, and I could hear him talking to him, and he was saying, "Oh, well, bless your heart. Oh my goodness. Oh, bless your heart." He was doing me. But
Wow.
that's how we teach and that's how we lead by example. Sooner or later, someone is going to catch on and someone is going to literally be taught and they get to release that enthusiasm that they all have within.
I love that, man. That's powerful. And the second pillar, talk to us about the second pillar as we continue on and with this amazing show, brother.
It's vision. You know,
Why
you
is
and I
that
both have
important though? Because I think people underestimate the power of vision. Like first of all, why is vision so why does it matter? I think what comes to mind is
because because it has an ability to bring forth what it is you see. I'll give you an example. I'll go down to a child. If you have your grandson, and he says, uh, "Grandpa, can we go to Fiesta, Texas?" And you say, "Nah, maybe." Well, to a child, maybe means we're going. The child is there. He sees himself on the roller coaster, on the Superman ride, on this and that and everything else. Now it's just a matter of when, because grandpa said maybe, so we're going.
that
And
it sounds like that was an experience you went through.
oh my gosh, absolutely. And I always see the life through the eyes of a child. You
Oh
know, I'm
man.
I'm I'm all for them. So when we see something for ourselves or for others, whatever that vision may be, it has a way. People talk about having a vision board. Well, the reason you have a vision board is because you want to remind yourself this is what I'm working towards. We've got some friends who've been saving for 3 years to go to Disney World, and they're finally going to go next month. Well, they've had all this, vision of going there, of going on those rides, and it has taken them to that point. And that can be a very small thing or a very big thing. But when you have that clear vision of what you want to accomplish, it's amazing. You know what it is like? It's like you have a menu at a restaurant. You would never say, I don't know, bring me anything. No, you would look at the menu, you'd pick something, and then you'd visualize it being on your plate in front of you in a matter of minutes. Well, it's the
Yes.
same thing with how it is we see what it is we want in our future.
And
And
just
the
to your point,
more,
I want to so this is that's so powerful what you said because there's mornings I'll wake up and I try to eat healthier now, but right, I love Mexican food because I'm Mexican and I don't eat it every day like I used to when I was younger, but those tacos get to you pretty quick here in San Antonio. But the thing is this,
Yeah.
I woke up one actually a couple of Sundays ago and I told my wife Marty, I said, "Hun, I said, man, I want some menudo," and she goes, "You want some menudo?" I was like, "Yeah." I said, "I was craving some menudo." So we go to this Mexican restaurant we go to sometimes, and I'm there and I'm like, you know what? Ended up getting pork chop and egg breakfast. But in my
Ah,
mind, I had already
yeah,
tasted the menudo because I had visioned that. I go, yeah,
sure.
I can taste the lemon and the lime and just a tortilla dipping it in there. And when I bit when I bit the pork chop, it was probably great. That wasn't what I envisioned. It was a last minute switch that I did. So I didn't
Mm.
enjoy it. And after I was done, I told my wife, you know what? I really should have had that menudo because that's what I was envisioning myself. That's how powerful it is, though, I believe.
Oh, it is the power of suggestion. It's incredible. But once you get that vision of what it is you want, it's the same thing when you're going to buy a car. It could be a used car or a a new car. You decide what model you want, what color you want, and between the time you decide to the time you actually get the car, you see all these cars on the freeway. There's another one. There's another one. There's another one. You never noticed it before, but now because of your vision, you see them all there, but they've always been there. Vision is so powerful, and it's a massive, it's a very big ingredient in intentional enthusiasm, and it will accelerate what it is you're trying to accomplish, no matter what it is, especially if you're trying to accomplish it for somebody else.
Mhm. That's powerful. Let me ask you this, Sonny. If someone's listening to this, because we have a lot of entrepreneurs on our show that tune in, what's the best business advice that you would give to someone right now in this season and time of life?
You've got to start with the customer experience. What it is they what it is you can do for them. We tend to sometimes start from we want to hit this amount of money. We want to make this amount. We want to have this many um, you know franchises, whatever it is you want to grow your company. But when you start from the other side of what it is you can do for your client, that's when you literally can grow, but you also enjoy the ride. Walt Disney would say that whatever you do, you should do it so well that someone can see you do it. They will go and tell their friends, and then they will bring them to come and see what it is you do, who will then go tell their friends and bring them. And that is the way he always operated. He always did things. That's why he called Disneyland the happiest place on earth. And you talk about vision. When Disneyland was being built, it's in the orchards of Orange County, and all these orange orchards. So these was workers that were going to go, who were building the park, were driving for miles and miles, and all they saw was orchards. So what he did was he had them build the castle, which sits in the middle of Disneyland, first, so that as they got closer and closer, they could see the castle and they could see that vision of what it is they were building. And it got them more and more excited and more proud by the time they got there. It's powerful.
Man, I'm loving this episode, ladies and gentlemen. Think about that. What is your customer experience? What's the experience you're giving to your clients? And are you envisioning the experience you're giving in them? And then are you grateful for your clients? And then have the belief that you have the capability within yourself to deliver a superior product, a superior service to your clients, and really go above and beyond for them. I love that we're tying all this together. And then to wrap it all up is do it with enthusiasm.
That's right.
So my last question as we come to the end of this amazing show, Sonny, is if someone is saying, well, this is all great, but how do I believe in enthusiasm, right? I don't know. What's the first step you would tell somebody to give them sense of hope? Because I think sometimes people, I had a conversation yesterday with this gentleman and I see him, doctor, very, very successful chiropractor. And he just says, Daniel, the success that I had kind of ran out. Business has been slow. And older gentleman, I can't, but just from seeing him and meeting him in person, he's easily over 65 years old. And he goes, well, I've had money handling issues. And I was like, okay. I said, but you wouldn't think about that. Like, right. Just you see him and the success that he's talked about and had. But I think people get the success and then they don't know how to understand how to handle the finance part of it or the business aspect or the money part of it.
Mm.
They have the wrong relationship with money. But I guess what is just right, it breaks my heart because maybe somebody doesn't know how to do it. So we want to give the people, how do you live a life with enthusiasm? If someone has no idea, maybe they're trying to change their life right now. They're listening to us, and maybe it's the first show they tune into for Daniel Gomez Inspire Show. What's a step or two they could take to build enthusiasm? To really, what's a practical exercise or something they can do?
Well, for one thing, you and I are in the same business. People call us motivational speakers, but really, you can't really motivate anybody. You can inspire them to motivate themselves, and that's really what we try to do when we're on a stage or when we're coaching someone, or even helping out a friend. But I think that the first thing you can do is to know that the inspiration and the motivation that you'll get is not going to just drop in your lap. People are not going to knock on your door and saying, "Hi, we're here to motivate you." It's not going to happen. You have to go and do something yourself. And in fact, I had this conversation with my brother the other day. The first 30 minutes of your waking day and the last 30 minutes are literally the most important 30 minutes of your day. So the first thing that I would do, and in fact, I do this every morning, is as soon as I wake up, even before I do anything else, I'll I've got it on my iPad or I've got a book or something. I will read something inspiring that will lift my spirits, that will give me some perspective, that will give me that gratitude and give me that enthusiasm. And now, like Albert Einstein, I've set the stage for the day. This is what's going to happen. And a lot of times, the first thing we do is turn on the news. And what do we hear? Nothing but bad stuff. And
Negative.
that sets the stage for, who knows what. And it's the same thing when you go to bed at night. The last thing, my wife and I, we love to watch these different shows on Netflix and everything else. And we decided, and a friend of ours gave us the idea, that the last 30 minutes before we go to bed, we're watching, no matter what we're watching, we're going to be in the middle of some really great movie and something great's about to happen. We just stop because it's Raymond time. And we switch over and we watch an episode of Everybody Loves Raymond.
Yes.
And it gives us a smile, it gives us some joy, and now we're going to bed laughing.
Yes. You say that, and you know what me and my wife are hooked on? Family
What?
Feud. We like to watch
Oh
Steve
yeah,
Harvey
yeah.
and because he's just funny and it's just
Oh, he's hilarious. Yeah.
laughter is the best medicine. Man,
Oh,
last and final exiting question is this before I let you off the hook.
okay.
What is a scripture or a quote that you rely on in times of adversity? A scripture or a quote that Sonny Melendrez relies on when sometimes those days just come our way? What do you rely on for a word of inspiration or encouragement?
Daniel, the greatest quote I have ever heard outside of the Bible, in fact, that's on the back of my business card, was said by a philosopher who lived in the first century. His name was Philo of Alexandria. And what he said back then, thousands of years ago, could be said by anyone today and it would be relevant. And the words he said were, be kind, for everyone you meet is fighting a great battle. And how true that is. No matter where we are, you could be at a stoplight and who knows what's going on in the life of the person next to you in that car, in an elevator, at the grocery store, you know, smiling, holding the door, like you said, for someone, doing all these things that are so simple, but yet can spread that joy. because basically you're going around your entire day and saying, I love you, 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 I love you. What do you think that's going to do to your life? It just
Wow.
gives you that incredible appreciation for being a human being.
Wow. Boom, baby. There you go. San Antonio's very own Sonny Melendrez. Woo-hoo! Man, what an amazing time with you, Sonny. Thank you so much. If somebody wants to get a hold of you, talk to you, how do they connect with the one and only Sonny Melendrez?
Well, you can just Google my name, or you can go to sonnymelendrez.com, and that has everything. You'll see video if you want to get a hold of me, coaching, everything else. It's all there, including my radio show, whom you are going to be on, as a matter of fact. And Daniel's going to be a guest on my podcast and my radio show, and you can listen to that as well. So, great ways to connect. We live in an exciting time, we have this thing called the internet. It can be powerful in so many positive ways. And if you use it the right way, oh my goodness, what joy you can bring to the world.
Love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you, Sonny, for being with us. Ladies and gentlemen, that's a wrap for this amazing week, this week's amazing episode. And if you're stuck in life and you're stuck in business, go to our website, themakingsofamillionairemind.com, themakingsofamillionairemind.com. Get your autographed copy and take a look at our amazing course. It's helped thousands of people, 27 powerful modules to transform your life. There he is. Thank you, Sonny. Yes, yes, yes. And maybe you're thinking, I want to write a book. Well, guess what? That's our logo. DG Publishing, we want to publish your book too. So give us a call, 210-663-5954. That's 210-663-5954. DG Publishing wants to be your publisher. And that's a wrap. Until next week, we'll see you again with another amazing episode here on the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show. Sonny Melendrez, thank you again.
God bless you.
Woo!
God bless you, Daniel.
Yes. This is Daniel Gomez Inspires, and thank you for listening to our show today. Please share this episode with a friend, leave us a review, and subscribe to our show. And for listening to our show today, I want to give you a free gift. I want to invite you to our Millionaire Mind community. Text the word millionaire, that's millionaire, to 210-942-5059. Yes, join our community today and receive millionaire affirmations, inspirational quotes on a weekly basis. That's 210-942-5059. Text the word millionaire today and join our community. And once again, thank you for listening to our show.